A horrifyingly life-changing experience. It was when I was 5. First, the backstory. This was back in the days when all we had for phones were the big black telephone boxes. My dad used to come home via a car and a driver appointed at work. When he came home, we used to be there to greet him, my brother and mom standing with me in mom's lap. This particular day, he was supposed to be coming later than usual, about 9 p.m. and all of us were pretty tired by then. I was almost asleep by the time his car arrived. So out he comes, with his bags and stuff. He too, being tired of the day, requested mom and my brother to take in his bags. Mom seated me on the back side of the car momentarily, while I was still asleep, and took the bags inside with everyone else. The driver must have been tired as hell too, because he just assumed everyone had left after seeing no bags. I got hidden from view by the front seats. We drove off. Mom had obviously meant to come back for me, and because of that, the door wasn't closed properly, so off I was, sleeping in my dad's office vehicle, with the passenger door loose, the driver blissfully unaware of my presence. I was abruptly shaken awake by the car going over some very rough roads, and before I could make sense of what was happening, I crashed into the loose door, which gave away, and I was sent rolling on bare sand and concrete. The car would have been going about 20 miles per hour, fortunately slow enough to not kill me. I tried to grab onto something so that I could stop. The driver must have either been drunk or extremely drowsy, as I heard the car going off, away in the distance. Finally I slowed down. The world still spinning, I tried to sit up while my mind made sense of the pain, confusion, and darkness which enveloped me, and what I saw struck terror down to my bones. I was in the middle of nowhere, pitch black. I couldn't even see my own hands. I was just a 5-year-old. I cried, screamed for mom and dad, for anyone, until it hurt my throat. Nothing, not a sound except the insects, not even a single sign of possible safety or shelter. I could feel tears running down my cheeks, and somehow subconsciously deduced I wasn't dead. Slowly my eyes adjusted and I saw I was somewhere in plain land, seemingly on a national highway. Plain, uninterrupted land for as far as I could see. The sky was adorned with stars, and for a moment it drew my attention. After some time, as my tears dried up, I decided I should get up and walk. I didn't know what I expected. I only knew sitting here would get me nothing. As I tried to get up, my body suddenly remembered it fell from a moving car. It burnt. Every part of my body, legs, arms, face, back, almost everything I could feel. It hurt so bad I was tempted to lie down and call it quits, but something made me push just that little bit more, and with much trial and error I found a relatively comfortable way to stand up. I looked around, still nothing. It felt as if I was the last person in the world. I tried to walk, one step forward, catching my breath, then another. Every step felt like hell. I screamed and cried in pain with every movement I made. Shots of pain coursed through my veins. After walking for what felt like eternity, though looking back it might have just been 10 minutes, or something, I gave up. I just couldn't do it. My whole body felt like it was going to fall apart. I crawled off the road and fell limp onto the grass. My crying slowly curbed down to a murmur. "Mommy, mommy," I called out. I didn't want to do anything anymore. Just wanted to rest. I gave into nature. My eyes started fading and I didn't know when or how. I passed out. There was a brief moment where I opened my eyes to see lights flaring onto my face and heard some unintelligible conversation. For the fleeting moment that I regained consciousness, I still felt excruciating pain, and I soon blacked out. The next time I woke up, I was in a van. It was cold, but also comfortable. I slowly shifted out of a makeshift bed and noticed bandages and first aid all around my body. It didn't hurt much anymore, and after the previous day, that little bit didn't bother me anyway. I tried to walk. My left leg felt like it was fixated straight against something like a fracture support, but I could at least walk. I don't remember much, but on looking around, I saw some packaged food, rolled up paper, some black staffs, and a backpack lying beside the driver's seat. I lopsided out of the vehicle and saw I was in the mountains. We were parked beside a solitary road, and the land was covered in snow. It was a misty afternoon. A guy, with his back to me, was hunching over one of those staffs. Instinctively, I called out, "Dad." My voice was surprisingly fine. The person turned around, and my heart dropped. It was someone else. I started to panic, and the man rushed over to my side, trying to comfort me. He said he was glad I was awake, and then seated me on a folding chair that he took out from his van. He offered me sandwiches, which I was initially reluctant to accept, but seeing as my stomach was virtually a vacuum at this point, I dug into it. Those were good sandwiches. Now slowly accepting my current situation, we then proceeded to chat over some sandwiches about who he was, how I ended up here, and where my parents were. Turns out, that night it was around midnight when that guy found me lying beside the road, covered in blood. Upon first sight, "I actually thought you were dead," he said with a light chuckle, much to my discomfort, "but then I thought I should at least get you to the hospital. Who knew, maybe, there was a chance you could survive." He immediately rushed me to a hospital where I lay unconscious for 3 straight days. The doctors had apparently said it was a miracle I was alive. He informed me how he had found me and said he would take care of me until we found my parents. After I had briefly woken up, They decided I was fit to be discharged with this man. I asked, "So what are those stick things? And what's that black rectangle over there?" "It's a camera," he said. I asked what a camera was. "It's a thing with which you take photos. It helps you remember things from the past." I took an interest, and we started talking about what he did with photography. He was an aspiring landscape photographer in his early 20s at the time. He had come to the hills on a quest to capture some of the most beautiful winter landscapes. He taught me a few things about the camera, the tripod, and other photography-related things. Of course, I didn't understand one bit except holding a camera and clicking the shutter, but it held my interest. We clicked a few photos of the sunset, sat and talked about the hills, and then went to bed. Over the next couple of weeks, if I remember correctly, we toured different locations, taking photos of mountains, hills, lakes, and occasionally some wildlife. We stopped at small villages for meals, and whiled about the towns when we were bored. I was making a speedy recovery. Soon that near-fatal accident was a thing of the past. I enjoyed those days to the fullest and had the best time ever during those 2 weeks. Over the time, he had successfully contacted my parents, and on a fine morning, I finally met my parents. Needless to say, they were overjoyed to see me. The man was showered with thank yous, hugs, and gifts. Much to my parents' amazement, I wanted to be with him. We had had so much fun during our time together that it was hard now to go back to our normal lives. But we knew it was inevitable, and so, having made up our minds in a tearful embrace, kissing him goodbye, I headed off home. Looking back, I was dangerously close to dying, molestation, kidnapping, or becoming dinner for an animal. But the world turned in my favor that day, and a stranger showed me true humanity. It's been 17 years since that incident now, and honestly, that experience has had a pretty positive experience on me. I am relatively calm during chaotic situations. I adventure out passionately against my mom's concerns, and of course, I love photography. I never met that person again, and my parents don't remember his name. So I guess it's going to be a while before we cross paths again. I will always remember you. Thank you for saving my life.
Thank you for watching. Please press the like button and subscribe.